And yeah, so I think we can start just about now. Yeah, so today we are here to discuss the rise of hyper and hybrid casual in today's market. Um, Big thanks to SocialPeta for putting this all here together. And also, we have a great line of panelists here for you today to kind of discuss everything. So today, we're looking at the hyper casual market. A lot of people over the years have made noise about whether hyper casual is dead and how that is going to evolve in the market with rising user acquisition costs. And we need more long-term value. Clearly, that hasn't been the case if anyone looks at the charts these days. And we've seen hyper casual maybe evolve and grow as a genre. So here we're really here to talk about general user acquisition strategies, how we can figure in more complex monetization models into hyper and hybrid casual games and get the latest insights from everyone here. Before we kick things off, we'd like to introduce the panelists myself, but I wouldn't do them justice, so I'll let them do it themselves. So we'll start off with Faisal Nazir. Faisal, if you want to give us a quick intro about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Umar. Yes, so my name is Faisal. I'm the founder and CEO of 8th Grade Games. So 8th Grade Game came from the background of hyper casual. So we had few launches like Slingshot, Duck Hunter, Perfect Climb. All of those scaled to multi-million users in tier 1 countries. So happy to share insights on hyper casual. These days we are mostly focused on hybrid casual puzzle games, because this is the new norm we live in, and happy to share what are the insights and learning we having in this segment at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And we're really happy to have you with us here today, Faisal. And like you said, hyper casual is slowly and growing into hybrid casual more so. And the differentiation between the two is getting blurrier and blurrier, I would say. But really looking forward to hearing your insights on this. And I will move on to Nishan. Could you give us a quick intro about yourself?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Excited to be here. My name is Nishan or Nay, and I'm growth marketing lead at 923 AI Studio. We are a development and marketing firm for apps, and my role is to grow those apps. So either while they're getting built or after they're built, they run into a problem of, hey, how do we get users? So I'm excited to help solve that problem and bring some insights into the combo today.
Fantastic. And we are super happy to have you here, Nishan. And let's get a quick intro from you, Chitai, our host.
Hello everyone. I'm Çağatay, and I'm the key account manager of SocialPeta at MENA region. If you have not heard about the SocialPeta before, it's a leading intelligence platform for mobile marketers. Today, I'll try to share our insights with our latest data on hyper-casual games, on UA trends and creative models, etc. And I'm excited for this.
Absolutely. And thank you for bringing us all together here today. And last but certainly not least, let's hear from you, Nick.
Yeah, hi everyone. And first of all, thanks for having me on. And thank you to everyone who took the time to join the event. My name is Nick. I'm from Qonversion. We help apps grow revenue and reduce churn by making subscription management, paywall testing, and refund recovery effortless. So today, I would love to walk you through one of the most timely and misunderstood questions we hear from studios today. How do I know if my game is ready for subscriptions? And once I launch it, what do I actually track to tell if it's working?
Absolutely. And we can't wait to hear about that from you as well, Nick. And just to give you a quick intro about myself, my name's Omar. I'm from Mistplay. We're one of the oldest and biggest rewarded UA platforms in the business. We focus solely on gaming as of today. And I'm just going to be here as a moderator to hear from these great minds about all the great topics we're going to be talking about today. And yeah, so just kind of moving forward to kind of kick things off. We have a general question which I'm going to ask each of you to answer, and we'll go around in turns. And the question is really, with hyper casual games evolving beyond just quick wins, we're not looking at just a day 7 training quickly. How do you see their role shifting in the broader mobile gaming ecosystem? And I'm going to ask each of you to give us one surprising trend you've observed very recently. Let's start things off with Faisal.
Yeah. All right. So, of course, we all know the main demise of hyper casual and evolution to hybrid casual was more around the marketability side of things. So now these days, marketability on these kind of titles decides your payback windows, because payback windows used to be very short, 3 days, 7 days on hyper casual. Nowadays, I know studios acquiring at day 30, 60, even 90 for same kind of hyper casual titles. So the payback windows are shifting forward. But that being said, a lot of studios are getting more sophisticated in terms of how they monetize their games. The retentions have improved of similar titles because they are borrowing a lot of different mechanics and meta layers from more stronger casual games. So same game, which used to have, let's say, a day 30 of 1 or 2% might now have 4, 5, 6%. And in fact, those games used to lose all of their users on day 14. That's no longer the case with those titles. Now, that being said, new launches in hyper casual are tough because it's hard to make a very broad game into a very strong game. But that being said, there are a lot of improvements around how the studios are monetizing, how they are improving their workflow around it. So I think making stronger product is kind of like a main takeaway, I would say. You need a very stronger product. You no longer have 10-cent CPIs, which you used to see in the US iOS. It's more around now $1. So, it's all about the equation of your CPI, your LTV curve, and where is your paybacks and how much war chest you have to spend on it. So all those factors, come in handy to decide like how you're going to build your game. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you consider to be the most surprising trend you've seen within the genre recently?
Yeah. So I would say at the moment in hyper casual, 2 genres just work very well. One is ASMR. ASMR still can get good CPIs, the marketability. Others, if you say runners or these other genres which were like part of hyper casual, no longer get low CPIs, not profitable. And if you move slightly away from hyper casual and go into hybrid, then puzzles are ruling at the moment. They inherently have longer engagement, longer session, longer LTV curves. So they're doing really well. So I would say puzzle is like a breakout winner at the moment.
Absolutely. And just to kind of give our 2 cents from Mistplay, we've definitely seen the same trends. Hyper casual was a big friend of rewarded before when CPIs were very low. Now, more and more, we look for games that have longer payback windows. Most networks do, because basically they are able to scale more efficiently on our networks. With Misplay specifically, it's kind of shifted away from the rewarded kind of um, model of just get a user, they train really quick. All our models are based on day 7. So in that sense, we're also kind of developing to get users to have longer term engagement through gamification of our app to keep our users engaged. And we've seen a lot of hybrid casuals on our platform succeed very strongly at higher CPIs than would have been previously imagined for the genre as well. So definitely agree with you there, Faisal. Let's shift things over and get Chetai's opinion on the question here.
Yeah, of course. So, based on our insights, the hyper casual games are no longer thought of as a snakeable products, whose only job is to deliver a burst of cheap installs and ads. Instead, they become a top of the funnel for broader mobile pipelines, a way to validate the concepts, build the IPs quickly, and then graduate the hit titles into hybrid casual or even mid-core models. So in that sense, hyper casual is now acting like a R&D for broader mobile gaming ecosystem. especially as bigger publishers look for idea to launch velocity and lower the risk when betting on new mechanics or themes. So they fit perfectly at a time uh, when mobile downloads are trending down overall, but the consumer spend is stabilizing at like 20 billions quarterly. Downloads are trending down overall, but the meanings that studios need to squeeze more lifetime value from every player they acquire. For the surprising trend I have observed is that hyper-casual publishers are increasingly leveraging TikTok style UGC networks, not just for advertising, but as an organic testing platform. So instead of spending heavily on CPI-based UA, some studios are now soft launch gameplay snippets on short-form content platforms and measured clicks, watch throughs, comments, and meme-style virality as a proxy for market fit. So hit concepts that go viral, there are then fast-tracked into development with much higher confidence and effectively turning platforms like TikTok or Instagram into a new playable A/B testing ground.
Yeah, definitely. And that is quite surprising in how innovative studios have become and kind of finding out very quickly if a concept is scalable and kind of laser focusing their production on quality and scalable efforts right there. So that's great to hear from you, Chitai, and Nishan. We'd love to hear from you on the topic.
Yeah, I would piggyback off of what Chitai said. And for a specific example, we have this golf related game, and it's really around figuring out how to make your swing better by simulation. And so it was a kind of a maybe not hyper casual, but they ran into a problem where it's seasonal. People are really interested in golf at one time of the year and not. So what they started to do was change their ads to focus more on getting better during the off season. And I think Faisal also mentioned this, the connection between the content, the marketability, and how that impacts eCPIs, and then how that impacts the type of people and expectation that they have when they get into the game. And I think that's been one of the most surprising trends for me is how the content alone, maybe you don't have an ASMR app. How can you use ASMR style content to market your game? I think it matters less. Of course, you can't change the product. You don't want to mislead people and say, oh, this is going to be an ASMR game, and then you get in and it's a runner. So I think it's important for people to get creative though about how they market the app and just to get people on and then understand their retention and how to keep people going from that next stage. So that's been really insightful and interesting to me.
Yeah, absolutely. As the user acquisition landscape gets more competitive, costs increase, studios do need to get creative to remain competitive. And last again, but certainly not least, Nick, love to hear from you.
Yeah, from our perspective, I would say like a big shift that we've observed is that like the most successful studios treat hybrid monetization like product design, not just finance. So they build, subscription systems that add value, not just remove ads. So that means like perks, bonuses, even status. And when done right, subscriptions feel like an upgrade, not a paywall, that users have to overcome. And as for as for the like one surprising trend that we recently noticed is that we are starting to see Android titles outperform iOS in terms of ROAS by day 90, particularly in the hybrid casual space. And that's like a bit surprising because like historically iOS was always regarded as more lucrative platform, but now with better user segmentation, smarter UA strategies and more localized pricing, Android is like basically closing the gap, and like in some areas even pulling ahead. So yeah, that's our takeaways.
Yeah, I can definitely confirm that on our end, since although Mistplay recently launched on iOS, on Android, that is our core business, and we've definitely seen similar trends. We've even seen some of our advertisers shift more budget to Android than iOS overall, not just on the rewarded side. So it is an interesting development to see as things develop on the Android side, and how they'll continue to close the gap, or if iOS will continue to pull away. Um, that actually segues very well into our next question, which we'll start off with Nick. And this is a specific question for you, Nick. And basically, as hyper casual and casual games begin adopting hybrid monetization models leading to hybrid casuals, including subscriptions, what are the indicators and benchmarks that you recommend teams look at when they're ready to introduce a subscription model? What are kind of the key metrics or early signals that they can use to evaluate its potential?
Sure. I've actually put together a little presentation to show some data. Could you please let me know if you can see it?
Yeah, we can all see it, I think.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I'm gonna start with with the simple truth. So hybrid casual games weren't originally built with subscriptions in mind, but that's changing, and that's changing fast. And right now, like more teams are shifting from quick hit monetization to building recurring revenue streams. And subscriptions, when introduced at the right time and in the right way, can boost LTV by 10 to 30% compared to ad-only models. So the big question that you should ask yourself is when is the right time? And we put together this, like checklist, um, 5-part checklist that you can rely on. We often use it to help teams decide whether they're subscription ready. So the first part is retention. Are your day 1, day 7, and day 30 numbers strong enough? So good benchmarks to keep in mind are that on your day 1, your retention rate is over or equal to 27%. Day 7, it's at least 15%, and on day 30, it should be greater or equal to 10%. If you're below that, work on engagement loops first. Speaking of engagement loops, the question that you should ask yourself is, does your game give players reasons to come back daily or weekly? So meta layers like progression, upgrades, or challenges help here. Subscriptions only work, when there is a reason to stay. Next up is monetization signals and trial funnel potential. So for monetization signals, you should, the questions that you should keep in mind are your users already opting out of ads? Are they buying in-app purchases? If you've seen like remove ads purchases or in-app conversion over 0.5% of daily active users, you might be ready. And with trial funnel potential, you should think about trials. Can you offer like real value in a 3 to 7 day trial? Look for start rates over 15% of installs, and trial to paid conversion rates of 30 to 35% as your goal. And for data stack, you have to track metrics like trial start, then trial convert, then renewals and cancels. If not, like set this up before launch. And we also use simple acronym READY, which stands for retention, engagement, added value, data infrastructure, and yield forecasting. And I'm going to shed some light on this last part when we get to the next slide. So, but just like a little heads up before we move on to the next slide, is that if one of those boxes is red, we would advise you to just slow down a bit, because it's better to delay than to and test more prior to launching everything and lose trust and break your LTV. So let me show you some early metrics that matter. Let's assume that you are ready, and those are the metrics that you should, keep in mind in the first 30 days. So with trial start rate, aim for 15% plus of new installs. Anything less and your CTA isn't working. Trial to pay conversion, we would advise you to target 30+%. The top apps hit from 40 to even 60%, especially with strong onboarding. And when it comes to churn and renewal rate, this is actually where the money is. You should aim for at least 45% of payers sticking around past the first billing cycle. And I just want to circle back to yield forecasting. The last two metrics on this slide are about this. So subscriber LTV uplift should be within the range of 10 to 30% in cohort LTV compared to ad-only users. And for payback time, ideally your customer acquisition cost should be covered by day 30, or it could be within the range of 30 to 45 days. So hybrid models can speed this up dramatically. And keep an eye on engagement metrics within your paying cohort. Like, do they, play more? Do they stay longer? If not, maybe your, premium value isn't real enough. So, and this is where, our tool can help. We help, studios track all of these, from trial conversion and cohort churn to revenue by source and payback curves by geo and platform. So if you're exploring subscriptions already, testing them, we'd love to help you build out the right dashboards and flows right from the start. And yeah, just a quick rundown on our company. We help we help apps monetize with different tools, manage subscriptions more efficiently through no-code builder that helps you create screens. We also help run advanced A/B tests, get refunds from Apple, and improve your Apple Ads performance. So if you are interested, go ahead and book a demo with us. I'm gonna share a link in the chat. So that's it from my side. I'm happy to pass the floor to our next speaker.
Yeah. Thanks so much for that, Nick. Those metrics will definitely help, and we can definitely see similar trends with Mistplay specifically. As games have included more subscription models, they've been able to afford higher CPIs and been able to scale and be a lot more competitive on the rewarded network side as well as the SDK network side from what we've seen overall. So really interesting stuff there. And unless any of course, unless any of our panelists have anything to add there, we can move on to our next question, which will be specifically for Faisal. Now, as CEO of 8 Great Games, I know you've launched several hyper casual titles and hybrid casual titles in a really highly competitive market. So I guess if you could tell us a bit more about how you balance speed of production with quality and scale. How do you identify those hits early that can be scalable? We know that in publishing, that is the biggest problem, and that's the biggest kind of challenge that we face, especially with now in hyper casual and hybrid casual. Let me know how you kind of tackle this question, how you tackle this challenge.
Yeah, sure thing. Let's do this. All right. So there are a few things which we have done, which really shrink the timelines of the development. So the first thing was having our own SDK. So our SDK have monetization in it, analytics inside it, all sorts of SDKs and plugins all built in. So any dev can go in and spend like a couple of hours, and everything is integrated into our games. So this really makes monetization and testing part much easier, right? And it's like a battle tested system, so you can plug it in any of your game. So that's one thing. And second thing is, it's not about speed anymore, I would say, to a degree. Obviously, speed always great, if you can do things faster, great. But I think we have seen better results when we go from, let's say, 3-4 weeks for first MVP to maybe 6 to 8 weeks. We generally see much better results. Last 10-15% of the polish makes all the difference. So it's not about like you want to have a fixed weeks. Each game is different. So whatever it takes 4, 6, 8, 9, whatever. So give enough time for the game, and you also need to decide how much content you want in a first version of your game. Do you want 3 hours, 5, 10, 6? How much? So you can measure your KPIs based on how much content you have and how your progression funnel looks like in that game. So deciding and having kind of a benchmark internally really helps. So everybody will be aligned, okay, this much content we want for this kind of mechanic, all that kind of stuff, like basically standardizing all the production of the content, the scope of first version, what will be monetized, how many live ops features, whether you want in first version or you just want the core gameplay. Just having a standardized way of doing things just really helps with the speed. And again, speed should not be the only factor. It's part of the equation. So also make sure to give enough time to your games. So yeah, that's how you balance this.
Yep, absolutely. And I guess what are kind of some of the key metrics that you're looking at early on to kind of assess scalability there?
Yeah, of course, if you have the ARPDAU and if you have retention numbers, you can model the LTV. So these are obviously the first few things, but of course you need to double click into it. You want to see how many sessions you get, what's your play time look like, how's the drops of retention from day 1 and day 7. Do you see a major dip somewhere in the middle, like at day 4 or 5? So there are a lot of nuances you can look at and you can improve your retention curve. But of course, I would say ARPDAU really matters because we see in some games, retention, play times, everything will be much higher, but the ARPDAU will be bad. In some, the retention might be okay-ish, but your ARPDAU will be much higher. You see 20 cents ARPDAU, and one day you see in another game with much weaker KPIs, you see 40, 60 cents ARPDAU sometime. So it totally depends, but you need to look at multitude of KPIs and then make your decision. But primary will have to be the ARPDAUs and the retention curve over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess what are kind of some of your go-to networks to kind of test games early on in their life cycle? And where
Meta got to be the go-to network because even if you run standard CPI campaign without ROAS, Meta always gives you high quality user, specifically for puzzle games, because there's a slightly more older audience there. And puzzle games, there are female oriented games and generally between 35 to 65. Like almost 80% of users are like female from 35 to 65. And it really fits with Meta. So we really believe in Meta. Now we have tried other networks, but they give very bad users unless you give them enough learning. But that's not the point of first versions. You quickly want to test it. So Meta is very reliable when it comes to like testing the early phase, the early engagement kind of.
Yeah, we definitely agree on that point. Common mistake we see sometimes with games that are looking to enter the rewarded space a bit too early in the game's life cycle. The average rewarded user is a content monster, so they'll eat up content much quicker than the average user. So I think definitely that rewarded UA can come in as a benefit once you know that the game is scalable. Once you're looking at scaling into after Meta, after your socials, after your SDKs, that's when rewarded UA can add a lot of value, I believe. Not to say that early on in the life cycle it doesn't, but you won't see the true value of rewarded UA early on in the life cycle. I would agree with you on that. So thanks so much, Faisal, for giving us some insight there. Again, feel free to chime in, guys. Anybody from the panelists, if you have anything to say, but if not, we'll jump over to Chatai. And I guess the question directly for you here, based on SocialPeta's recent data, can you walk us through some of the most notable trends you've seen in ad creatives or UA strategies for hyper casual games in general? What are kind of the key growth regions for these games? And how can developers leverage this competitive intelligence to kind of get a step ahead against everyone?
Okay, so I'm sorry. When we look at the SocialPeta's recent intelligence report, what really jumps out is how much hyper-casual UA has shifted from bigger budgets to smart bets. So three creative trends are dominating this year. So particularly across fast-growing regions like MENA, Latin America, and Southeast Asia, where CPIs are still climbing, but attention remains relatively affordable. So the first one is I mentioned that we are seeing UGC style lo-fi creatives consistently outperformed polished 3D assets. Players are responding more to raw TikTok style ads with handheld looks, real human reactions, or meme overlays by generating up like 25 cheaper CPI, percent cheaper CPIs in places like Saudi Arabia and Brazil. Largely because they blend into native feeds instead of screaming the ad. The second trend is there is a significant push towards what we call localization. So instead of building a brand new creatives per country, top studios are taking already proven Western ads and rapidly refitting them with local cultural signifiers. So think seasonal colors, regional slang, or even changing the on-screen emoji style to make them instantly familiar. For example, in India and Brazil, those micro-localized tweaks are lifting CTR by nearly 18%. And finally, somewhat counterintuitively, like longer form storytelling creatives are coming back, especially in Southeast Asia. Rather than the 5-second blitz formats, we are seeing success with 20 to 30-second mini narratives, short character arcs, fail loops, humorous chill cliffhangers, which seems to boost dwell time and signal higher retention potential to ad networks. So from a competitive intelligence perspective, the smartest developers are now building UI strategies around these data by constantly tracking top performing regional creatives in ad intelligence platforms and cloning their hooks rather than their format, and then running lightning fast A/B tests to change one local variable at a time. So that way you can scale hyper casual UI even with in saturated markets, not by spending more, but learning faster than everyone else. So if you want to ask any specific questions on the how can you get this local creative data as well, recommendations, feel free to ask me after the standard questions, and thank you.
Thanks so much, Chitai. That's super insightful. And just to kind of piggyback off what you said for the Q&A, we will have a Q&A session, guys, towards the end of the panel. Feel free to keep putting those questions in the chat, and then we can direct them to, and feel free to list the specific panelist as well. And we will get to that in the Q&A session. Fantastic. All right, so moving on to Nishan, your question. From your experience about how emerging technologies like AI and automation, are those best used to optimize scalable user acquisition and monetization, especially for hyper casual games? We know that AI is already a big factor in most of the algorithms that are used on all networks to kind of run these campaigns. But are there any unexpected advantages that you've discovered by combining AI product thinking and performance marketing? I think everyone here would love to hear a bit more about that.
Yeah, it's boring. The boring use cases are the ones that are actually producing the best results. VO3, ChatGPT agent mode, the biggest companies that I've seen behind the scenes, not the ones in the headlines, the ones that are an unknown app that you've never heard of that's printing money behind the scenes are using workflows. They're using an actual system. Something I was just talking about with our CEO recently is the security risks that come with using certain models and agents and things like this, with things like prompt injection scams and people not leaving themselves vulnerable to someone doing something malicious in their AI process. So I had to, before we get into using specific tools or where we see it working best, I had to put that out there that I don't think LinkedIn and YouTube are the best places for you to learn. It's spaces like this to actually get your hands dirty and go in and actually try to automate video creation. I had someone who was using a workflow to scrape Reddit comments around their game and then actually generate video based off of those queries, and then they have it trained almost like a video GPT, you could say. It doesn't matter what the actual stack of tools is, but it's already pre-trained on their components, their library of assets, their style, and high performing content, not only in their ad account, but from other competitors or things like this. So then it can generate high performing videos that maybe they don't use right away because so many of them suck when they come out, but they might get new ideas that they weren't previously thinking of at scale. So one of my challenges to people here is to think about what problem they need to solve first before they jump into a specific tool. Is it creative production? Like, we have so many briefs sitting down right now, but we don't have the resources to actually make these, or is it actually briefing? Like, we need fresh ideas. We keep producing the same thing over and over and over. We've heard the same thing, but Faisal mentioned like ASMR ads, these memeable ads, right? We all know people are doing the same thing, but then there's this breakthrough creative that happens every now and then, and that could be you. And then the last one that's been really interesting is predictive insights on audiences. I don't know if you guys have played around with these tools where you can actually see how an audience might respond. You can upload your creative and upload like your ideal persona, and it'll run your creative on these fake audiences and predict what the performance is. It's not perfect. Like, sometimes it'll be like, oh, this ad is going to kill. You put it in the account and it's one of your lowest performers. But I think it's these things are going to get better over time. And it's these small little things that give you an edge. And I think by the time something reaches you as like best practice, I learned that from going to some of these events, it's not too late, but it's not going to give you as much of an edge because other people have already been doing it. So that's probably my biggest insight, is just picking the problem that you're trying to solve and then being willing to just go get your hands dirty and not fall into the trap of all the new exciting things happening.
Thanks so much for that, Nishan. No, definitely agree that the biggest application we've seen on AI outside of obviously algorithms and things like that has been on creative. So it's interesting to get your take on things, and very interesting to hear how different people have been getting creative about using AI in creative. So thanks for sharing that. And I think everyone here found that super insightful. Now, just before we wrap things up, we're heading into the Q&A. We have a question for everyone else here. So I guess if you could give just one actionable recommendation, make sure it's actionable here, for teams that are looking to build or scale hyper casual / hybrid casual games today, whether that be a UA tip, monetization, something on product design, what would it be? And to follow up on that, what is the most important mindset to have going into 2025 and 2026 in making sure that you're remaining competitive in the space? Let's kick things off here with Faisal.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief. But I think a lot of studios which came from hyper casual background, they lack a lot of skill set around quality, understanding the data governance, They do not even use tools. They do a lot of things manually. For example, internally we have market research tool, which does research, uploads research into our workspace automatically. So we don't have to even find new games and all that kind of stuff manually. Everything is done automatically. I also mentioned around having SDKs, right? Just having tools and processes and understanding that these are the things you need in order for you to increase your production and scale. But I think a lot of studios are not used to this. The studios which are graduated from hyper casual, and I think they need to have this good arsenal of tool sets and automations. They need to have, for example, in our workflow, we have automations uploading to the stores and making builds remotely. So basically removing all the manual time consuming stuff with like AI or with automations. So just building that whole, basically the operational excellence needs to be really good with these studios in order to achieve success. So I would say, yeah, just build that operational excellence in one word, if I were to explain it.
Can I ask a
Yeah,
question here? Like,
go
can you
ahead.
talk about the challenge I think a lot of people run into is you're trying to get to the next thing. You're already busy, and this systems building that you're mentioning takes time and it pays back time. But can you talk about how do you decide to take the time to build those types of systems instead of just running through the list of things you already have to do?
Yeah, so I can give you like a actionable example, for example. So for example, our solution manager, like that guy makes tools for us, right? So whenever he creates a tool, while creating the tool and after creation of the tool, he creates his process of how to use this tool, how this can be effective. So everybody who's responsible for like a um, key task in your company, for example, a tool creation guy, like a designer, artist. So whenever they do something which is going to be repeated in your system, you tell them to document their process. And this is how you create your wiki, basically, in your company. You, as the one in a lead role or somebody at the upper executive level, is not going to make the documentation. You just tell them you're going to do things in a way which are like documented. So everything which repeats, make a document. And that's it. There's not much science to it. And use a good workspace, like using Slack sucks, to be honest. We use Lark, it's best thing ever. It have everything, every tool you can imagine, all in one place. So it really changed the game for us. It's really great. So yeah, these kind of things.
That's fantastic. And thanks for adding on that question, because I'm sure that everyone here has gone through that thinking we should automate this. Nobody has the time. So definitely an excellent question from you there, Nishan, which helps us segue into asking you, Nishan, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I'm listening to Faisal and I'm like, yeah, wow, that's interesting. And I completely agree. Um, and I think it's a lot of times we know what we should do, and we just feel like, okay, someone's going to tell me this new thing that's going to be way easier. I'm not going to have to take the time to do it, and it's just going to fix all of the problems in our account. And then we get frustrated at them when it doesn't. It can always feel like the next tool, the next model, right? The next AI thing. So my challenge would be to be similar to what I mentioned on the last point. Don't get caught up in the hype. Claude Code so powerful for developers, and I think a lot of people here are more technical than I am, and I think you see things like this that are worth using, and I think developers find very powerful use cases and run with them. But on the UA side, on the creative side, I don't think there's as much sophistication. I can't think of a Claude Code for creative production. As of right now, the only way I've seen people get that done is by doing what Faisal mentioned, which is building it yourself. So I don't know what your favorite tech stack might be. There's certain libraries for generating videos. You might have your favorite scraping tool. So my challenge would be to actually build your system. Maybe you use Gemini, maybe you use OpenAI. It does not matter. Veed, NVIDIA, Kling, Runway, whatever the heck it is, it does not matter. Just build your thing and start making it better.
Definitely. Thanks, Nishan. Let's switch things up and ask Nick this time before we last.
Sure, I actually agree with Nishan because like there is no, silver bullet, and it all comes down to, doing it yourself sometimes. And our approach is actually very similar because we would advise not to, treat subscription like like a magic bullet or something. It should be like a live feature that you should work on. You should help it evolve, right? Because like too many teams just launch a subscription in hopes that people will buy it and then they will never touch it again. But the studios winning today treat subscriptions more like part of the game, something that evolves and adds a value over time. So if you think of it more in terms of like live ops and give your subscribers new stuff regularly, maybe like weekly content drops, boost or exclusive terms, test different perks like progression boosters, VIP status, daily rewards, and use subscriber data to build smarter retention loops. That would be, very helpful. And again, like circling back to what I said before, good monetization should feel like part of the fun, not a payment wall. So that's my take on it.
That's a fantastic take. And last but not least, Chatai.
So my take on this question, like if I had to lead teams with one just actionable recommendation, the building creative testing into your culture, not just to your calendar. So studios winning today aren't the ones with the biggest UA budgets. They are the ones treating every idea, whether it's a mechanic or monetization tweak or ad hook, as a testable hypothesis. So that means that rapidly prototyping both gameplay and creatives together, maybe launching them into real paid channels, even with like $200 budget pilots, and killing what doesn't work within 72 hours, or doubling down even slight signals of traction. Why? Because in the hyper casual space that now graduates hits into hybrid casual or even mid-core pipelines, and speed of learning has become the only durable advantage. Mechanics get copied in weeks, CPI floors shift daily. The fresh monetization formats like comeback of rewarded playable ads go mainstream almost overnight. So the mindset to stay competitive isn't make a hit. It's run 10 experiments before your competitor runs two. So build internal systems that allows to pace, empower your UA and product teams to iterate without ego, and creative thinking, not just creative production, as your most valuable muscle. So
Yeah,
that's
definitely,
all.
Chatai. That's fantastic. And I guess on our side, on display, kind of the one actionable insight we would give is that rewarded UA might have a high trend for some games, but for those games that actually do have good organic retention, users will play regardless of the reward and after the reward is achieved. And for Mistplay, we have a long-term approach to rewards, so it's not a level complete. It's more users are always able to earn rewards for the lifetime in their game, which allows that organic component to come into and factor into performance on our rewarded UA channels. Because basically, if a user likes the game, they'll continue to play it through Mistplay to earn the rewards, but not because they earn the rewards. So that, I guess, would be the most actionable insight I can give, at least for hybrid and hyper casuals running on rewarded UA or on Mistplay at least. Thanks so much, guys, for all your insights and for your time today. Now we can move on to the Q&A. So we'll start off with, and please forgive me, anyone, if I mispronounce your name, Wonky here. For hyper-casual studios aiming to diversify their monetization beyond ads, what are some of the effective ways to leverage subscriptions or in-app purchases? So I think that would be a great question for Nick here. So Nick, wanted to see if you could chime in on this.
Yeah, sure. I mean, one thing off the top of my head is that if you have, if you can provide like ad-free experiences, like daily rewards, exclusive content, you can just start creating paywalls and, seeing how each of them convert, A/B test them, and then like eventually stick with one that performs the best. So that's just a very, like high level answer to this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And just piggybacking off of that, so definitely seeing a lot of studios find success in looking at alternative monetization streams, even outside of in-app purchases and subscriptions. For example, at Mistplay, we have our monetization SDK that we work with a lot of studios with, in which it's called Hex. And usually it's small integration, it's not invasive at all to the gameplay. And users will just see that they're earning rewards already on the game on Mistplay. Once they hit a certain threshold on points, they can just download Mistplay by clicking on that within the game. It takes them directly to the install and right back into the game. From Mistplay, it loops them right back into your game. So you're not really kind of disrupting the user experience. You're not taking a user out of your games, but actually kind of getting them to be more engaged within that game because they're earning rewards through Mistplay now. And it's also a good monetization tool because we pay a flat CPI per user that comes into Mistplay through there. So alternative revenue streams like kind of these light SDKs that aren't invasive, I would say definitely are a good way of leveraging other monetization revenue streams. If anyone else wants to chime in on the question, I'll give you a quick chance. No? We can move on. So the next question we have here is from Kevin, and he's asking, in what ways can AI or automation tools improve monetization performance in hyper-casual games, whether in pricing, creative testing, or player segmentation? Now, I'd like to open this up to Nishan and Faisal. So let's start off with Nishan.
Yeah, I think personalization is the one thing we haven't talked about. It's insane. It's unbelievable. The amount of personalization you can get. Some of it depends on your tech stack. Like certain tools already have personalization built in, but if you can find ways to make that experience more personal, I think we've seen that have a positive impact, top of funnel all the way down to retention. I think that goes alongside some of the things we mentioned. SocialPeta is a great tool for understanding your creative analytics, and I know there's tools for figuring out, like we mentioned, predicting how well something's going to perform before you do it, before you put money behind it. Cost savings is another great way to use it.
Fantastic. Faisal, what's your take here?
Yeah, one very interesting things happening with like ads these days is you can have a machine learning algorithm which can detect how much a impression of the ad network is going to pay you, and depending on that, you show the ad. So, for example, if you're going to show a rewarded ad impression and an interstitial ad impression, but because you have shown a lot of rewarded videos before, the interstitial will have a much higher payout for you. So you can dynamically change rewarded video with the interstitial. So you get much better like a revenue for that one impression. So that's one example of using it. Very simple way of doing it. Like just based on the user, how much the advertiser is willing to pay, you swap the rewarded with interstitial, because the more rewarded you show, the lesser you get paid. But if you haven't shown interstitial, you can just show interstitial for rewarded. So this is just one example, but you can do this throughout the life cycle of the user at different stages. For example, if an interstitial is going to pay you very tiny revenue, you might as well just not show it, right? So this is another example, but like the AI model can just automatically do it, and it can pick the different behaviors of the user and club them together. And there can be a lot of things done, but like this is one thing, like very actionable. you can go ahead and do it right away. If you're using App 11 Max, they just send you data before they even show the interstitial or record it. You can just pick the kind of revenue you're going to make through that impression, and you can just swap it. And we're doing it. It's very effective.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for your insight there, guys. Moving on to our next question from Jack. From your experience, how should developers localize their UA and monetization strategies to stay competitive globally? I'd love to open this up to Chatai. Oh, Chatai, you're on mute, I think. I don't think we can hear you, Chatai.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm sorry. I explaining the last two questions is more perfect fit for me, but I will try to answer this question as well.
Fantastic.
So on user acquisition and monetization strategies with the localized thing, there's three things that you can do is you can like find creatives like the episodic content instead of the one-off event ads, and you can get the more fresh campaigns without the burning your audience, like micro variations or rebuilds. Like once you creative performance release like the twist every day better the you can edit your strategy into a different localized content. So I think Faisal or Yashun should be better.
Yeah, no, I think that was
Answer
still a
these
great answer.
questions because I can provide some insights about it, but I cannot express myself fluently on that monetization and localization content.
No
So that's
worries,
why.
no worries at all. On our end on Mistplay, at least the experience we've had when doing our own UA for our own app is that when you look, there's a difference between translation and localization, right? So actually really working with teams locally in these in whatever geo you're looking to localize in has helped us kind of really localize the app truly, not just in terms of translating into a given language. For example, with South Korea, when we launched there, we were very unsuccessful in our first attempt. Once we relaunched and worked with teams there, that made the app a lot more successful in South Korea as a rewards app, and has reached as either the second or third top most downloaded there. I think Faisal also can give us a bit of insight here as well.
Yeah. So yeah, in terms of like a hybrid, I haven't seen that much of like localization on these ads, because the whole concept of hybrid and hyper is to be just broad and quite gameplay oriented. Now, that being said, if you are in very advanced stage of the scale, sure, you can do it, but you haven't scaled much in your earlier phase or even maybe slightly later phase, you don't need it too much. Honestly, it's not going to make a massive difference. At least that's what we have seen. But of course, for others and other genres, it totally matters. But yeah, but for ours, not that much, to be honest.
Absolutely. Thanks. Anyone else want to chime in here? Going once? Okay, we can move on to the next question here. So from Ahmed, should we try concept videos or images generated by AI as creatives for campaigns, or should we polish those first? Let's start that question off towards Faisal, and we'll let anyone else chime in as well.
Yeah, so we have seen different results. So we have generated AI images, and we are used in different places like inside product, on store listing, in ad creatives, and into the call to actions inside ads, where the ad is created by humans by hand, and then some of the portion of it is from the AI. There are usually mixed results. Sometimes they perform worse than the original handmade art. Sometimes they perform equally. Sometimes they perform a little better. But that's just true for any kind of testing you do with ads. I mean, one place where it can perform really great if you have like 2 to 3 seconds hook in the starting of the video, and that's AI generated. So it's kind of enough of a video where user cannot decide, okay, if it's AI made or not, and it's enough to hook the user. So at this place, it can work quite a lot. But I've seen a lot of UA created with a lot of impressions, which are like 30, 60 seconds, fully created with AI. But again, as I said, in hybrid and these kind of games where you don't need too much of fidelity in your creative, but you need a little mechanic, little story, one clear, fun thing about a game. Here, using in hooks or in call to actions or like combining it with real creative plus some AI would be the better strategy, I would say.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Nishan?
Yeah, like we talk a lot about creative production, but I don't think we talk enough about creative iterations with AI. And I think when you have existing content to put it with, one, it makes it less likely to be detected, as Facial mentioned, but also it's more likely that the model that you're using will actually create something that's better. So that's why we talked a little bit about like a video GPT of some extent, understanding what prompt or fine tuning you can do with your system. And yeah, I treat it almost like a product in a way. Start with your MVP. Maybe you're just doing an image that'll like a background for your you know, handwritten art. And then you kind of keep taking it from there. Don't go from I've never done anything AI generated to now I'm producing a 60-second ad with AI. Oh, this sucks. We're not going to use it. Got to start small.
Absolutely. And for the final question, guys, and if anyone wants to follow up directly with you guys, please do leave your contact information for everyone that's attending today, so they can follow up with you guys directly. So if you just want to leave your LinkedIn in the chat, that will be fine. And also, we know that on several of the posts, our LinkedIns are there as well if anyone wants to reach out directly. But for the final question of the day, with hyper-casual games relying heavily on ad creatives to drive installs, how can your teams keep their creatives fresh without exhausting audiences? And I think we already touched on this a bit with Nishan mentioning with AI creative iterations. Face also discussed how AI is working on that side. Satai, do you have anything to chime in on this question here?
I think I can answer this question better than
Go ahead.
before. So I can provide, like keep the concept constant, change the wrapping, and the top UA teams now treat creatives like episodic content instead of one-off ads. So here's how to stay fresh without the burning of this. You can use macro variations or rebuilds, like, once a creative performs well, you can release a slight twist every day, like new reaction, character skin, or fail moment, rather than the replacing the core concept. Or you can test in small loops or scale slowly, like you can run new variants in test, and you can pick the winners before introducing them to your main audiences. And you can borrow trends and remix it locally. You can follow the what is trending in the similar genre from ad intelligence tools. And you can use the on your own way on the creative, and you can stay fresh. So, like, you can use the same joke, but you can make the same joke, but you can use the different punchline on creatives.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Chatai. And we
Thank
do
you.
have time for a very, very, very quick question that came in last minute. And the question is, what are your views or opinions on validating new ideas by creating playable ads and run the ads on social media? Or is it preferable to create a prototype first and do internal testing? It's risky to work on an MVP for 4 to 5 weeks without a concept validation. So I think this one would likely be best again suited to Faisal.
Yeah, so I think MVP is must in today's market. I know there are alternative ways to do it. You make something very quick, you throw on social media, but social media metrics and UA-driven metrics cannot be compared, honestly. I mean, there is some correlation. If it goes viral, you can expect it to do decently well in UA, but there's no correlation here, actually. So I would say build an MVP. You can build a small MVP, but just build the MVP, get real users in, get actual data. So yeah, I would say build MVP first video creatives, and then eventually playable ads. You don't want to create playable ads or videos first before even having MVP. It makes no sense. But yeah.
And
Yeah,
I think there's
absolutely.
like, I was just gonna hop in and say, I think there's levels of validation. Like, there's a difference between validating like a small thing versus trying to validate the entire game. So you probably already have your own assumptions. So use creative to validate small things, but not the entire product.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's all the time we have today, guys. I want to thank everyone again for your time today. Thank you for everyone for joining. Thank you. Big shout out to Faisal, Nick, Nishan, and Chatai for joining us today. And a big shout out for SocialPeta for putting this all together for everyone. Thanks again, guys. And hopefully we will join you guys again soon on another panel soon. Take care and thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much for your efforts, Omar.
Thank
Of
you.
course.
Omar, thanks for moderating the session.
Of course, it was a pleasure, guys. All right.
Done.
We will end the webinar shortly.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.